Have you ever wondered if those home DIY projects that you see online are really as easy as they seem? Well, today I'm going to be reacting to some home DIY project ideas on TikTok, and I'm going to tell you if it's worth it, if it's going to increase the value of your home, or if it's just a nice interior design refresh, and what you might want to call a pro for. And if you're new to the channel, hi, I'm Nate Friesen. I'm a registered real estate agent in Brantford, Ontario, Canada, and I've helped plenty of clients make wise investments and informed decisions in real estate. So grab your hard hat and hammer, or maybe just popcorn and your favorite drink, and let's dive into these TikToks. TikTok number 1, let's go. So that first one was pretty short, but it had some great ideas to personalize your home and make it more aesthetically appealing. First up, black accents was a super popular trend a couple of years ago when everyone was flipping homes during the COVID craze and painting everything white with black accents. And it's still a very nice stylish choice as well, depending on the interior colors in your house and the overall vibe. Painting your doors black can add a nice modern touch, depending on the overall aesthetic and color scheme of your home. Black hardware can really update a space and make it look more modern and appealing. Again, depending on the color scheme of your cabinets, walls, etc. You gotta make sure that the vibe matches all together and not just switching one thing thinking it's gonna change the overall appearance of your home. Another popular trend right now is kind of more gold brassy hardware. Not kind of like the cheap looking gold from like the 90s and early 2000s that was all shiny and just didn't look that great. This one has a nice satin kind of gold bronze finish to it and can really update a space and make it look a lot nicer as well. The second one is accent walls, and that can really spice up a space and make it look a lot nicer. And there's a lot of options to do that as well. It could be as simple and cost effective as painting one wall a different color than the rest, or as you saw in the video, going with something more like a shiplap wall where you have like the wooden slats going up the wall, or you have that kind of herringbone pattern on the wall as well. That wood wall accent can make it look really nice. And no, I'm not talking about the wood paneling that was popular in the 70s and still in your grandparents' basement. And again, there's a lot of ways to do this. You could even create a pattern on the wall with 1-inch wood slats and paint over it, just adding some texture and a pop to the room. And the price on this can vary from very cost efficient, like I said, painting your wall a different color from the rest of the room, and get a little more expensive when you start getting shiplap in there and different wood texture and stuff like that. I have to say, shiplap, or those textured walls with those 1-inch wood slats that kind of create the patterns on the walls that are painted over, can really create a modern flair to your home and increase its desirability to buyers, and thereby maybe getting you a few extra bucks when you go to sell. I'm not going to say it's a direct correlation to increased value in your home, but it will increase the desirability of your home. And the last one, if you live in an old home that has those cast iron air return grates, or even just the cheesy kind of aluminum ones, replacing those with more modern vent cover can make the place look a little bit more updated. And then on the other hand, if you're living in one of those century homes that has like the cast iron grates with the patterns, it might take a little bit away from the character of the home. So you got to kind of weigh your pros and cons here. Some great ideas, super cost efficient, easy to do, don't need a professional, and it'll definitely increase the desirability and appeal of your home too. Project that you can do yourself at home for a fairly cost-efficient price. It looks like just from the materials in the video that I saw, it might cost you a few $100 or so depending on how many walls in the house you're doing that way. But it definitely adds a nice high-end luxury feeling to the home when you have those textured walls like that. Just that little extra attention to detail that most homes don't have. And like his wife said, makes the walls look a little less boring. I'd say if you have some level of DIY experience, you could definitely pull that off yourself without too much hassle. Not something I think will increase the value of your home at face value, but it will definitely increase the appeal and desirability to your property to buyers. And definitely an idea you could pull off with multiple different color schemes. All right, on to the next video.
Let me show you 5 easy projects using just a 1x2. First are the plant shelves I put in our master bath. These are just stained 1x2s. This only took me one afternoon. Next up is the slat wall that I did in our master bedroom. For this project, I did make my own 1x2s by ripping down a big sheet of plywood. And the first paint color didn't work out, but the second one was perfect. Then is my first accent wall I did with 1x2s. This was a geometric wall. These are really fun to do because you can do whatever you want. There's no set design. Up next in my living room is one of my favorite walls I've ever done. I did a diamond geometric wall. This was kind of challenging, but I do think it's still beginner friendly. I surprised my husband on the color, and this was his reaction.
I love it.
Technically this was 1x1s, but it still counts. And project number 5 is this fun mountain wall that I did for my nephew Finn. For any accent walls, I recommend using 90 and 45 degree angles. It does make everything easier. He was so excited. So what do you think? Which project are you ready to try?
All right, so that video was a great example of what I was talking about before. I couldn't think of the term, but geometric wall was what I was talking about when I mentioned the 1-inch slats or 1x2s. It adds a texture to the wall and makes it pop and just look a whole lot nicer and more appealing. I love the planter idea. That was just a really cool little corner shelf. Such an easy little project, could probably be done within a day or so, and add some nice character to the home. Shiplap, geometric walls, or just a paint accent wall can all increase the appeal and desirability of your home by just making the rooms feel a little more modern and magazine worthy. Great idea, super easy to execute. Well, maybe a little challenging to execute, but not unattainable for the average person. And a great way to increase the aesthetic appeal of your home. Even if you're not thinking of selling your home and thinking of buyers, I think you, your friends, and your family would love it. I love that little mountain range at the end there, and I'm not even 9 or 10 years old like the kid in the video, but I would love to have a mountain range geometric wall in my house. So this next one's a little more labor intensive, but still a great idea.
How to remake a staircase for under $200. So this was our old apartment. They get better, I promise. Keep watching. So first step was to spackle and sand any nail holes, imperfections, get it ready for paint. Then we painted the risers. Obviously, I was super neat on this part. Doesn't really matter if you're using like a retread like we did. These are from Floor & Decor. These are awesome. These pop right on top of your existing tread. So all you have to do is just measure your tread, cut it to size, cut it to fit, and then they pop right on top. So we put some wood glue on the bottom, get it nice and snug, and then we used a nail gun to just secure it. Next, we sanded to smooth it down right before the stain process. Now that I look back, I love this natural wood. This part, you definitely want to get your painter's tape out. Jimmy did that part. I have no patience. I went to town on the stain once that was all ready. Then you got 3 coats of a poly top coat to protect it, give it some shine. And there you go, guys, for under $200. Don't be intimidated. You can do this.
All right, so like I said, that one's a little more labor intensive, but I think it's a great idea if you got an old staircase in your house that you want to just refresh the appearance of, as long as it's still safe to walk on and you don't need to actually do any major reconstruction of the stairs and you just want to increase the appeal, then great idea. I personally liked the more natural, lighter look to the stairs, but the dark stain looks great too. What do you prefer, the dark stain or the more lighter natural wood? Let me know in the comments below. Everyone has different tastes, so I'd love to hear your different opinions. Old beat up stairs can look really gnarly, so those retreads are a great idea to refresh your stairs and make them look a lot more aesthetically appealing. Though she did mention it's her old apartment, so if they were renting, you'd have to get your landlord's permission to do anything like that, but I'm not sure why you'd object. It's free added value and updating his stairs. It might be worth it to you if you're living there to, you know, enjoy your space a little bit more even though you're renting and you're not adding value to your own home. You're just adding value to your landlord's property. So that would be the only caveat to that I would say to take into consideration when you're renting, is you're just adding value to someone else's home. You're not gaining anything from it. But if it's just for you to enjoy your space a little bit more that you're renting, then it's totally your call and it still looks great either way. That one could be a little more costly depending on the cost of the retreads and how many stairs you're doing, and also a little more labor intensive and requires a little bit more skill than some of the other ones. So this next one is just amusing, but I thought it'd be fun to watch, so here we go.
He's gonna lose his sock now.
Oh, come on. It's right here.
You might want to throw it over on the carpet, not back on the glue like that.
So again, that one just for amusing sake. What can happen during home renovations? Basically, I think they were removing old laminate flooring or linoleum or something that had like super sticky glue underneath that it leaves a residue once you actually take it up. And my favorite part is that he actually got his shoe off of the glue and then just tossed it 2 feet ahead. Just have to do it all over again. So yeah, that one's amusing. So if you're ever removing linoleum or anything sticky like that, sticky tile, just beware of the glue. It's very strong. And this next one is pretty cool, a little more involved. So let's take a look and see what they did.
Let me show you how we created a mini butler's pantry in our kitchen that had no storage. We started by removing the existing flooring, and then we got to work framing out the pantry. Mark added electrical, and we installed some recessed lights that we found at Home Depot. Drywalled, mudded, and taped, and then I primed and painted while Mark built the cabinets for inside. I told Mark my vision for the space, and he built everything from scratch, including the barn doors. This is how it's looking so far. We just need to add the countertop. We used 1x2s and added cleats to the walls for the shelves. For the doors, we used a 1x6 as a header and attached the hardware directly to that. And here it is all done. It's pretty, it's functional. I love that it has the look and the feel of a butler's pantry, all while working with minimal space.
So definitely a really great idea and a great utilization of limited space, but definitely a lot more involved than some of the other ones that we've seen today. You know, you're framing, you're doing electrical, which can be very dangerous, and you definitely need to be inspected by a licensed electrician. So, you know, this is one where if you're not comfortable with those things and you're not experienced with those things, you definitely want to hire a professional. And I'm not positive, but I know when you're removing walls in a home, you definitely need a building permit, especially if it's going to be structural, but even non-structural walls, they usually want you to have a building permit and to have it inspected after the work is completed and during completion. I'm not sure about adding non-structural walls. I would assume it's the same kind of process. You would also need a building permit as well because you're changing the interior structure of the home. So make sure that you're doing these things right, as they can bite you in the butt if you ever go to sell, potentially as well. I think they did a great job. It looks awesome. I love the utilization of the space, the shelves, pantry, you know, having a little space to walk into for extra storage for canned goods and jars and just extra storage in general is really nice. And that little light in there, the light they installed, brightens the space up, makes it look really nice and modern. Great addition to the home, and definitely a lot more involved than the other ones as well. So if you're not comfortable and experienced with these things, this is where I definitely highly recommend maybe not making it a DIY project and hiring some professionals. But if your partner is a experienced contractor and this is what they do for a living, then you're probably on the safe side to be able to do it yourself. For anything to do with electricity and removing or adding wires and, you know, electrical outlets and that kind of thing, I highly recommend just hiring a licensed electrician, and it has to be certified and inspected because you could run into insurance issues as well if ever there were a fire and it was related back to that. So unless you're just changing like an outlet or a receptacle, I would highly recommend getting an electrician to do it, unless you yourself are an electrician, in which case all the power to you. But that little pantry is definitely a selling feature and will add a little extra value to the home versus not having it, because people like having storage when it comes to their kitchens, and especially when the storage looks as nice as that does. So this last one was a big project with a lot of DIY jobs, so let's take a look at that and then we'll talk about it.
4 months ago, we bought this 1970s fixer-upper and decided to tackle the entire renovation by ourselves. We scraped over 2,000 square feet of popcorn ceilings and quickly realized we never want to do that again. Next, we removed all of the countless window decals and stickers to bring back some natural light into the space. We chose to lighten up this big bulky fireplace using a German schmear technique, and let's just say the internet had some very strong opinions on this. To give some visual interest to the vaulted ceiling, we added a faux beam and a chunky mantle. The previous owners of this house clearly loved tile because it was not only used as flooring but also as countertops in not only the kitchen but the bathroom vanities. Some original elements of the 1970s had to go, like this 50-year-old brown toilet that still haunts me to this day. We upgraded our hollow core doors by adding some trim work and a fresh coat of paint. Next, we proceeded to paint every square inch of this home and chose to do a couple different accent walls where we used wood slats to bring back some of that mid-century charm the home was lacking. One of the most dramatic upgrades was saying goodbye to all of this cold tile and warming it up with a beautiful wood look floor. When we bought this home, we quickly found out that there was a filled-in swimming pool, and after realizing a new pool was way out of budget, we had to get creative. We turned what was essentially a muddy dirt pit into an outdoor oasis by not only adding a stock tank pool area, but also adding in plenty of space to lounge and just take in this beautiful, lush backyard. Finally, we updated our curb appeal by turning this empty rocked area into a working water feature. Now, after months of hard work, we are officially done, and I cannot wait to give you the final reveal and full house tour.
So yeah, that one was a big project with a lot of DIY jobs. It seems like they did almost all of it themselves, with obviously some help from friends and stuff like that, who might have been experienced or licensed in certain different various fields. details. But yeah, definitely quite the upgrade from when they bought the house. It does look a lot nicer, and a lot of the details they changed really increased the appeal of the home and the desirability. The big thing that kind of freaked me out a little bit was when they were scraping the popcorn ceiling. For those of you who don't know, sometimes popcorn ceilings can contain asbestos, so you want to be very careful and use the proper ventilation and masks when scraping it. It looks like they were just wearing, you know, a standard N95 or just something like that, when there's specific masks that you do need to put on when working with possible asbestos containing materials. The other thing that I've seen done is to spray down the ceiling so that it's saturated, and then it just kind of peels off when you scrape it rather than scraping it off and creating a lot of dust. Asbestos is dangerous if you breathe it in and if it's disturbed, so by spraying it down and saturating it and just sloughing it off with the scraper rather than creating a ton of dust by doing it dry, you're mitigating that risk of inhalation and that kind of thing, but still always wear the proper masks and ventilation gear when doing that. Some of the fixes were super simple that will increase the appeal of the home. Like I said, painting new colors, that accent wood slat accent wall, really nice, kind of what we talked about before as well. Adds nice desirability and appeal to the property. And then also the new flooring. New flooring is always a nice touch. I like how they repurposed the doors and made them look a lot nicer than just getting rid of them and getting new doors. I thought that was very resourceful. And that fake beam above the fireplace was a nice touch. Definitely adds some extra character to the home that it just didn't have before. As well as I love what they did with the enclosed buried swimming pool. They kind of made it a sunroom with the atrium style room there, creating a sitting area, and then it looks like their own makeshift pool, but it was a nice use of space. A lot of those jobs are DIY projects that you can do yourself. Replacing a toilet, not super hard. You gotta be careful, but not super hard. Laying new flooring, also not super hard. You can do that yourself, no problem. Just very time consuming. Painting, unless you're awful at painting, also can do it yourself. So again, there's a lot of projects you can do at home that will increase the appeal and desirability of your home and potentially even increase the value of your home that you can just do yourself. As we've seen today, they range from super easy to a little more advanced. Some are super cost efficient that will increase the appeal of your home and the aesthetic while remaining, you know, on a low budget, whereas others have a higher budget and can actually influence the value of your home. And I'm not a licensed contractor, I'm a real estate agent, so any of the tips that I mentioned are just that, tips that I picked up along the way to share with you guys, not advice. Always use professionals when doing things that require professionals. And if you're kind of back and forth about whether it requires a professional, you probably need a professional. So thanks for watching today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it and picked up some tips and even inspiration for your own home. I'm always happy to share tips for what can get you the most value and return on your investment when selling, and even what to look for when you're buying as well. So, and if you enjoyed the video, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe for more real estate content and reactions. And until next time, happy house hunting.